Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to have a really direct conversation today, specifically geared toward business owners, managers, and team leads. We're unpacking some absolutely brilliant insights from Wally Abalaran and his work at Workplace Klinik. We're looking at a dynamic that, honestly, causes endless friction in companies of every single size. Why you absolutely should not expect your employees to match your passion. Look, if you've ever looked around your office and thought, why isn't my team as obsessed with this company's success as I am? Well, you're going to want to pay very close attention to this.
You cannot expect your employees to have the same passion and drive that you have. It sounds incredibly simple when you just say it out loud, doesn't it? But in practice, this is exactly where so many leaders stumble. If you're constantly expecting your team to match your level of obsession, your relentless drive, your round-the-clock commitment, you are literally setting yourself up for daily frustration. You're measuring them against a metric that is completely impossible and, frankly, totally inaccurate. But let's be completely honest for a second and validate your hard work. Because what you've done is remarkable. You built this thing. You poured your energy, your life savings, and honestly, your very identity into this business. So of course you're intensely invested. When you wake up in a cold sweat at 3 a.m. worrying about payroll or supply chain issues, that's just the natural byproduct of being the architect. You built it. So naturally, it is always on your mind. But along with that stress, as the person at the helm, you have a level of freedom that literally no one else in the building possesses. You can stay late, you can come in early, or honestly, you can just not come in at all on a random Tuesday, and no one is going to question your absence. You can take business calls from the comfort of your couch, step out to run a personal errand right in the middle of the day, or handle family matters from your desk without ever asking for permission. That's the undeniable privilege of being the boss. Now, for your employees, that experience is vastly different. While you have sweeping freedom, they're operating under some pretty tight constraints. They clock in at 8 a.m., and they're expected to be fully on nonstop until 5 p.m. They can't just leave early without running it up the flagpole for approval. They can't step out for long periods, and they certainly can't just disappear into a mysterious meeting to handle personal errands the way you can.
So when you hold your staff to the exact same standard of obsession that you have with your business, it just isn't fair. Why? Because you are not operating under the same rules. Expecting owner-level dedication from someone who is rigidly bound by employee-level rules creates this massive, glaring psychological disconnect in the workplace. It really all boils down to this fundamental economic reality. They're trading their time for a salary. You're investing in a dream you already own. That is the very core of your relationship. You're building equity. You're building a tangible asset that belongs to you. They, on the other hand, are executing a transaction, their time and their skills, in exchange for a paycheck. Recognizing that difference doesn't mean your team doesn't care. It just means their motivations are structurally fundamentally different from yours. And this dynamic doesn't just stop at the owner level either. It totally applies to middle managers and supervisors too. If you're a line manager, you're already near the top of your department. You've got the title, you've got the enhanced benefits, and you probably have a lot more flexibility. The rewards for deep commitment are already right there in your hands. But your team members? They're still building. They're just trying to get seen, all while trying to balance their work with personal life goals that have absolutely nothing to do with the company. So it's absolutely vital to remember this. People are allowed to work hard and still have boundaries. It is perfectly okay and actually healthy for your team to care deeply about their job, to deliver fantastic results, while also caring about themselves. Having a rich life outside of the office does not mean they lack dedication to the work while they are inside the office. So, what do we do about this? Let's move right into our 4 rules for leaders, which offers a whole new framework for handling this. Rule number 1, balance your expectations. You absolutely can, and you definitely should have high standards for your team. But high standards do not require unrealistic, life-consuming demands. We really need to stop confusing an employee's healthy need for work-life balance with a lack of commitment to the company. They can be incredibly committed during their working hours without making your company the center of their universe. Second rule, respect the structure. If someone is hired for an 8 to 5 schedule, please don't expect them to be grinding from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. If they aren't being paid to reply to emails on a Saturday afternoon, don't expect them to. Remember the golden rule we're talking about here. You aren't giving them ownership, so do not expect them to work like owners. Stick to the agreement you actually made when you hired them. Third, you've got to shift your focus to performance, not passion.
What actually matters at the end of the day? It's their output. Are they showing up consistently? Are they delivering high-quality work? Are they improving over time? That tangible performance is way, way more important than how visibly they seem to love the job or how loudly they act as a cheerleader for the company. Measure the work, not the emotion. And finally, rule number 4. Lead by example, but do it with empathy. Yes, absolutely show your dedication. Be deeply invested in the business you've built. But never, ever guilt trip or shame your employees for walking a different path. They aren't you, and they shouldn't have to be. Let your hard work inspire them, for sure, but don't use it as a weapon to make them feel inadequate just because they log off and go home at 5 p.m. Let's get real for a second. If your business only works when everyone is burning out just to keep the lights on, you need to seriously evaluate your operations. Take a hard look at your day-to-day. Is constant hair-on-fire crisis mode the norm? Are your people continually running on empty just to meet baseline expectations? Because if surviving on collective exhaustion is your actual business model, that is a massive red flag. Because the harsh truth is this: that is not a culture of excellence. That is a glaring leadership gap. Relying on burnout means you aren't fostering true excellence at all. You're just compensating for systemic flaws in how the business is structured, how it's resourced, or how it's being led. I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but identifying that leadership gap is the very first step to actually fixing it. To truly succeed long-term, we need to redefine what workplace excellence actually looks like. It's about building a team that hits their targets and performs exceptionally well, but does so within reason. It means stopping the demand for 24/7 energy. You have to respect the specific time parameters they were hired to work within. Let them do the job they were hired for in the time they were hired to do it. You have to let your people breathe. You have to let them actually live their lives. And here is the beautiful paradox of this whole thing. By letting them breathe, you actually unlock their true potential. When people feel safe, when they feel their boundaries are respected, and crucially, when they feel they aren't just being exploited to fuel someone else's dream, well, that is when they really start to show up. That's exactly when you get their absolute best ideas, their highest quality work, and their genuine, lasting loyalty. So I want to leave you with this final thought to reflect on as you look at your own organization today, whether you're managing a team of 2 or 200. Is your current team culture built on true excellence, where people are fully supported to do great work within healthy boundaries? Or is it really just built on the expectation of exploitation, demanding owner-level passion for employee-level pay? The honest answer to that question is going to define the future of your business. Think about it. We'll see you in the next explainer.